In 1989, Daniel Kolawole Dike Olukoya, a recent University of Reading Masters graduate, summoned a prayer meeting in his Lagos living room. He was already a devout man and an adherent to the Pentecostal wave that hit Nigeria in the 1970s. 24 people showed up. Soon after, according to the church's website, they began to experience miracles. Olukoya held more meetings. Attendance rose. Pretty soon he was a minor celebrity, and in 1994 he opened the Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries, a church whose name, he says, was revealed to him during a prayer. Today, MFM is a global sensation. Headquartered in Ponders End, London, it has branches on 6 continents and millions of followers. Its spiritual home is still Lagos, however, specifically a giant former slum in the historic district of Yaba, just yards away from the spot where it all began. It is devoted to the revival of apostolic signs and Holy Ghost fireworks. To the side of the church, in a tiny one-room office, sits the headquarters of Mountain of Fire and Miracles FC, a football club owned entirely by the ministry. Dike Olukoya grew up a football fanatic. His father, a policeman, made him the kit man of his division's weekend team, and he played as an outside right, idolising Pele and Teslim Thunder Balogun, a Nigerian striker who scored 3 goals for Queen's Park Rangers in their 1956-57 3rd Division South campaign. Lagos's biggest team was then Julius Berger, now Bridge FC, a club that produced world-class talent including Taribo West, Yakubu Ayagbeni and Sunday Olise. Olukoya preferred stationary stores, with whom they shared the picturesque Onikan Stadium that overlooked the Gulf of Guinea. By the mid-2000s, however, both clubs had fallen on tough times. Stationary stores ran out of cash and dropped out of the Nigerian Premier League in 2004. Julius Berger were relegated 2 years later and shuttered in 2008. That left Lagos, Africa's largest city with a population of around 20 million, without a top-flight football club. Olukoya wanted to bring the game back to Lagos and inspire the city's youngsters. MFM FC would be part of his ministry's agenda to bring more youths to Christ. The club first competed at the Dike Olukoya Cup in 2008 at MFM's Prayer City, a sprawling complex outside of Lagos built at a reported cost of £100 million that's big enough to hold 500,000 worshippers. Soon after, they applied for a spot in the Nigerian National League, the country's second tier, but wouldn't win many headlines until 2014, when they beat a Colombian team in Goa, India, to win the Unity World Cup, a religious tournament held to decide which Christians are best at football. The newly crowned best church in the world gained promotion to the Nigerian Professional Football League in 2015 and avoided relegation on goal difference the following year. They moved in at the historic Agege Stadium in the heart of Old Lagos. In 2017, the miracles kept coming. MFM won 19 of 38 games to finish league runners-up to Plateau United, earning a spot in the CAF Champions League. Their young coach, Fidelis Ikechukwu, adopted a form of gegenpressing that stifled opposition, creating space into which they sprung star strikers Sikiro Olatunbosun and Stephen Ode. Throughout MFM's rise, the church played a key role. It scouted players from Lagosian congregations. It capitalised on its flock around Nigeria to fill away ends. At the beginning of each half, the crowd stood with the players to sing gospel songs, and a big steel band accompanied them at each match. Fisayo Dairo, chief football writer at ACL Sports, says that MFM have at least 10 churches in each major city. I think MFM is one of the best brands I've ever seen. And church-affiliated clubs are as old as the game. In 1531, the Puritan pastor Thomas Eliot scolded footballers for their beastly and extreme violence. But by the beginning of the 20th century, churches were the foundations of 11 major English clubs, including Aston Villa, Everton, Manchester City, Southampton, and Tottenham. Celtic were also formed by members of a Glaswegian Catholic church to alleviate poverty among the city's Irish population. These days, European religiosity has dampened, and that's not the case in Nigeria. According to Gallup, it is the world's second most religious nation behind Thailand. Of Nigeria's 187 million people, 46.3% are Christian, most of whom are located in the south, and 46% are Muslim, many of whose heartland is in the arid north. In the southern city of Lagos, adverts for televangelists and pastors are plastered all over billboards, LED screens, and street signs. Nigeria has a particularly strong Christian fundamentalist movement, and Pentecostals like Dike Olukoya sit at its vanguard. Evangelism is big business, and pastorpreneurs often fly to sermons in private jets. Some have criticised them as cynical flim-flam men who make millions off the poor. According to many Nigerians, the popularity of pastorpreneurs is symptomatic of a population which, disgruntled by graft and cronyism at the top of society, has turned its hopes on snake charmers and tongue speakers. Olukoya himself has not escaped scrutiny. Last year, MFM was implicated in a fraud case in the US state of Maryland. Worse still, an MFM pastor in Liverpool was taped leading chants against homosexuality that included the phrase, "die in the fire." When a gay journalist then questioned the leader involved, he was offered a course of conversion therapy. Still, Olukoya has seen his star rise even further through his association with MFM FC, whose team are often called the Olukoya Boys. He doesn't go to many games, so his staff usually send him videos instead, but his prestige is still felt. In November 2017, Lagos State Governor Akinwunmi Ambode pledged £100,000 to the club for its Champions League qualification. It looked to have paid off when in February 2018, MFM stunned Real Bamako 2-1 on aggregate to reach the second round. There, they would face MC Alger of Algiers. A 2-1 victory at the Agege gave them hope, but it was quickly snuffed out across the Sahara, where Alger went 4 goals up in the first half hour. By the end, it was 6, and MFM had been taught a lesson in new money. In truth, it was no surprise, and money was a big factor. Nigeria has, by some distance, Africa's largest GDP, but its football clubs have struggled to make an impact on the continent. Since 1964, just one Nigerian club has won the Champions League, Enyimba, from the oil-rich Niger Delta, who won back-to-back titles in 2003 and 2004. No Nigerian club has ever won the CAF Confederations Cup, Africa's equivalent of the Europa League. Now that is mostly down to decades of shambolic post-colonial military rule that has sucked up funds and fueled corruption. That grift has drifted into football, and players and clubs are often stung by the many fake agents who ply young men with dreams of foreign riches and teams with promises of the next big thing. Accusations of match fixing are also rife. Today, Nigerian clubs are still poor compared with those in neighbouring countries. The minimum NPFL salary is £293 per month. Players get bonuses for matches on foreign soil, but they are usually confined to double-digit stipends. According to Dairo, MFM's is the lowest of them all. While big African teams such as Raja Casablanca, Al Ahly and Orlando Pirates can sign players for hundreds of thousands of pounds and keep them on lucrative contracts, Nigerian clubs rely on local talent that leaves soon after it flourishes. Oletabosen and Ode, MFM's star duo last year, have both left for Swiss side FC Zurich. Of the Nigeria team that faced Algeria in their last World Cup qualifier in November, just one, the Enyimba goalkeeper, Ikechukwu Ezenwa, played domestically. Fans often prefer to watch Premier League matches on TV than the NPFL in person, meaning that big gate receipts are tough to find. The biggest effect Nigerian teams' lack of money has on their Champions League chances is shown in their logistics. Unable to pay for expensive flights, clubs are often forced to take lengthy connecting flights or even coaches. For MFM's away leg in Mali, their squad flew for a day across Africa to Addis Ababa, then to Bamako. The direct route takes less than 3 hours. The rise of Mountains of Fire and Miracles FC has been one of African football's great modern tales. Whether it can keep on moving upwards depends on many things, not least cash, but that won't stop its fans and staff praying for success. This video was adapted from a story that originally appeared in The Blizzard. The Blizzard is a quarterly football magazine edited by Jonathan Wilson. It's football journalism for people who think about the game more than everyone else. You can click the link below to subscribe or find out more, and handily, The Blizzard is also beautifully designed and they make wonderful gifts for friends and family. So visit theblizzard.co.uk for more information, and thank you for watching.